What's going on, everyone? Mitesh here, and today I have for you guys my full long-term review of the Pixel 4a. I've had this phone for about 3 months now, and honestly I could have made this video a lot sooner because my initial impressions of this phone have not really changed, because this thing is a killer budget phone for 2020, and 2020 is a year that needs budget phones. So without further ado, let's talk about it. So since I've already kind of spoiled my review for this, I really do think it's an awesome phone. I kind of want to spend the first part of this video talking about the reasons I may not recommend this for everyone. And the emphasis there is on everyone, because I do still think this is the right phone for majority of people that are looking for a budget smartphone in 2020. So let's start off with reason number one that I think this phone is not right for everyone, and that is performance. Now, don't get me wrong. Performance here is still pretty good. This thing has a Snapdragon 720G and a 6 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage. All pretty good specs for 2020 for an Android flagship, for an Android budget phone. But what makes me hesitate in recommending this for someone who's looking for pure performance is the fact that you're leaving a lot of performance on the table, and the fact that you can get a similarly priced flagship from last year as this phone, and you'll get way better performance on that phone. For example, the 7T. The 7T is my go-to example because that phone right now sells brand new for $350, same as this phone, and that one will have way better performance. So if you're looking for purely on performance standpoint, there are other phones you can get. But you're of course going to make some trade-offs there. Well, 7T is one version behind on Android. It's already got Android 10, still does not have Android 11 update. You are definitely not going to get updates as long as this phone will. So this phone will get Android 13. Most phones released in 2020 will not get Android 13, which is a very sad thing. But this phone will get it. So there are a lot of trade-offs, but if performance is the most important thing to you, you might want to go with the OnePlus 7T or some other flagship from last year, like the Samsung Galaxy S10. S10, right? Sorry, I got confused since they released the S20 this year, but yeah, S10. So yeah, if you guys want the most performance, there are other phones out there that are going to be right for you. And then the reason number two I hesitate to recommend this phone is the fact that Google did something kind of strange this year. They killed off the XL version of their phones. So if you want a big phone, Google is just not making anything that's right for you, because this is a 5.8-inch screen and it actually feels really good in the hand. I personally like smaller screens, so this thing is right up my alley, but I know a lot of people are out there going to want a bigger screen, and there are a ton of budget phones that will give you huge screens for not very much money. So if all that you care about is a big screen to watch videos on, you really don't need to spend money on this. There are a lot of other phones you can get instead. So those are the two reasons that I actually would hesitate to recommend this to everyone. But yeah, those are my only hang-ups in recommending this phone to everyone. So let's talk about some of the good things about this phone. I'm going to start off by let's start off with the back of this phone, and let's talk about this fingerprint reader. So nice to see on a phone in 2020. I love having the fingerprint reader on the back. It's what I'm used to, and I think it's a great spot for it. My hand just fits there perfectly, and it's great. In 2020, when I have to wear a mask everywhere on my Pixel 4, it sucks with its Face ID, but this thing with the fingerprint reader, it's just fantastic. So that is a huge upgrade. And I know most phones will have on-display fingerprint readers. Those suck to me. This thing is a real deal. This thing unlocks it way faster than any in-display fingerprint reader will. So that's a huge win. The other thing that I think is a huge win is the display on here. So even in 2020, it's still rare to find a sub $400 phone that's offering you an OLED screen, also an OLED screen of this caliber. This thing is a really good screen. It has very accurate colors. They're still really vibrant, but they're very accurate also, just like most Pixel screens can be. So that is a really huge plus. They don't have like these weird oversaturated colors, or they have some blue hint fringing or anything like that. This is a really nice display. Additionally, it also gets decently bright. It's not the brightest, but I mean, I live in Seattle, so we don't get a ton of sunny days, so I have not really experienced any issues with reading the screen outdoors. But if you're in a place like Arizona where you guys get a lot of sunny days, this phone is going to be a little bit harder to use in bright sunlight. But otherwise, this phone is great. The display here is really top notch. And speaking of notches, hole punch notch in this display. I am personally not a huge hole punch notch guy. I much prefer actually the giant forehead of the Pixel 4. I know I'm a minority on that. I just kind of like my displays being uninterrupted, but if you're gonna do a notch, either do a hole punch or like one of those U-shaped cutouts. This is fine. I can work with it, not a big deal. I really do kind of wish it was centered just to make the phone a little bit more symmetric, but it's fine if it's left adjusted a little bit. Not a huge deal. So yeah, the display on here, awesome. You will be super happy with this. Now, along with the display, another huge feature for budget phones is the fact that this phone has dual speakers. So you got one in the earpiece and one bottom firing. Now, I will say not the best dual speaker combination. I do find the bottom one fires a lot more than the top one does. So the bottom one gets a lot louder and there's a little bit of a distortion when you're watching videos, but really not that big of a deal. It's just great to have dual speakers on a mid-range phone. All right, next up, let's talk about a sort of a controversial thing about Pixel A line of phones, and that is the fact that this phone is made of plastic. Now, I have this inside of a case, but if you get the phone for reals, it's a plastic phone. Plastic, I think, gets a really bad name. This phone is still really well built despite it being plastic. And if you're like me, you're someone who's going to keep it in a plastic case anyways, it's not really that big of a deal. But if you're someone who likes to go bare naked, let me tell you, this phone feels actually really nice in the hand. It's also very lightweight since it is made of plastic versus glass. And of course, the back isn't going to shatter like glass will, so that's a huge plus for me. Now, sadly, they only included one real color, the black one. This is the limited edition Barely Blue. You can still get this on Google's website, but it's very limited on where you can get it. It's available from the Google Store, unlocked on Google's website in the United States and I believe Japan. I have not seen this being available anywhere else. So if you're in one of those two countries and you want the Barely Blue limited edition one, go there and go buy one now because like I said, it's limited edition. Don't know how long it's going to be there for. But anyways, plastic back. Zero problems with it whatsoever. This phone feels very solidly built aside from the fact that it just kind of lacks in a little bit of heft. Other than that, and that's mainly coming down to the fact that it is plastic and not glass back and plastic sides and not glass or metal sides. So in terms of construction, I still think it's a really solidly built phone. I still recommend putting a case on here. This, like I said, is the Subcase Style Series one. I will have a link in this description if you guys are interested. It's such a pretty nice case, and if you have the blue one like I do, it's a nice way to show it off without worrying about, having it be completely naked. But yeah, the Pixel 4a is definitely a really well-built phone despite it being plastic. And then finally, the last things I want to talk about are the battery life and the software. And if you're wondering why I'm not talking about the camera on here, it's because I've done a ton of camera comparisons that I will have linked up here and in the description below so you guys can check those out. But yeah, suffice to say, it's a Pixel camera and it does what Pixel cameras do. It takes great photos, decent video, and you'll be happy with this. Despite it being only a single camera, I still think this single camera outperforms a lot of budget phones with more than one camera. Like the ones that have like 3 or 4 cameras and 2 of those are just worthless. This is the way to go. Single good camera is the way to go, and this phone kills it with it. All right, so like I was saying, let's talk about the battery and the software. So battery on here is a 3,100 something milliamp hour battery, and battery life on here is really good. So I don't even charge this thing fully. I normally leave it around 80% or so tops because I normally just don't use my phone like that, especially since I'm home all day anyways. But this phone gets me from 6 a.m. all the way to midnight and with still like 20% battery left. So I have zero problems with the battery life on this phone. I'm just not someone who has longer days than that. That's already an 18-hour day. I don't need to be my days to be longer than that. But yeah, this phone, battery life, this is one of the few Pixel phones I've had where I've had zero complaints about battery life. And then talking about next up about software. So software on Pixel phones has, to me, always been one of their major advantages, especially when they do things like update new features and give you cool things. Like with the December update, we got one of the coolest features available now for Pixel phones exclusively, and that's called Hold for Me. So what this feature does is it actually waits on hold for you. So when you call up those people, customer service places, and you want to do a return or make a payment on something, and they make you wait on hold forever. Well, guess what? Google Assistant can actually wait on hold for you, and when it feels like someone's actually on the line, they want to talk to you, they'll first of all tell them that, hey, this person's got a hold program or something, and then they'll send you a visual/sound alert to let you know someone's available so that you can put your phone down and go live your life. Go keep your sanity by not having to listen to awful hold music for hours on end because you're stuck waiting for people. So yeah, that is an awesome feature. And it's so nice that Google does these jobs for even phones that are not the most expensive. Like this was announced with the Pixel 5, but the Pixel 4a got it, the Pixel 4 got it, the Pixel 3 got it. So yeah, it's just a really nice thing that Google brings those features down along its line. And I've always really liked Google's approach for that. And the fact that you get 3 years of software updates is something that most Android budget phones will never give you. So that is a huge win. If you're into software, if you're someone who likes to have knowing that your phone is secured for at least 3 years, that is a really nice feature. So yeah, the Pixel, I think the software has always been a highlight of the Pixel phone's experience. But yeah, with that, that's pretty much it for this review. I really think that the Pixel 4a is the right phone for 2020. At $350, you're really not gonna get too much of a better brand new phone than this one right here. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Like this one if you liked it, subscribe if you guys loved it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.